May I remind you that trading is risky and not suitable for everyone. Your past performance, good or bad, is not necessarily indicative of future results. Please stay small, stay humble, focus on the long term, and never risk money you cannot afford to lose. Welcome to QuantBox Daily. Today is Wednesday, November the 9th. All right, friends, let's have a look and see what's going on in the world of finance and foreign exchange. So euro dollar, we still have a neutral bias on euro dollar, which is interesting. Looking at our news for today, we got a bit of news out of the euro area. We've got a speech later on today in the States. I'm paying careful attention for inflation data this week. So we got some more low and medium tier news out of Europe. And then we got some US data later today. So medium and low tier news out of the US today. It's like much later on in the New York session. And some low data out of the States today. Some more speeches. And then that's it. So a couple of news items to pay attention to. But overall, our bias on euro dollar is currently neutral. Okay. The COT data is what's interesting. Scoring is 0 at the moment. Very, very interesting. Looking at, so now obviously, fundamentally, that means that euro dollar would be staying away from. Okay. Pound dollar, currently neutral. USD CAD, currently neutral. Aussie USD is currently neutral. And Kiwi dollar is currently neutral. Okay, that's fine. Aussie yen is neutral. CAD yen is a buy. I'm not buying yen pairs right now. They're too high. Euro yen's neutral. Pound yen is neutral. And Kiwi yen is neutral. Sorry, Kiwi yen's a buy. But again, I'm not buying those. They're too high. So taking a look at the charts, I'm still a dollar bull. And I know what Powell said in the last meeting. So I'm going to maintain that bias of bearish in the euro dollar, bearish in the pound dollar, and just look for optimum opportunities to sell at clear resistance. Let's start with the Aussie USD. Looking at our daily time frame, you can see we're now currently at the daily 55. But my concern is that we don't have this trend, right? It's not a case of price having broken through the 21, coming up to the 55, and then coming down for a double top. We've got this higher low down here. So maybe neutrality is the correct stance. Because looking at this chart right now, it's completely consolidating. And looking at price action, if I want to exercise a sell, I would need a lower low, lower high, which means that right now price would need to be below this over here, pull back for a sell, and then down. The fact that price is currently sitting over here means that there's no setup for me to sell Aussie USD today. Matching that with fundamentals being neutral, perhaps that's going to keep me out of trouble. Looking at the euro dollar, price is currently at the 100 EMA. Notice on your weekly time frame, price is at the weekly 21. Okay. Looking from an H4 perspective, paying attention to price, looking at opportunities to sell lower lows and lower highs. I have got this over here in terms of top of the range. Price did break above that body slightly, but notice how price is contained within the wick. All right. So price is currently at the top of the range. If I wanted to trade that, I would like to see price closing at resistance. Notice how the 4-hour candle has just closed up. And looking at the H1, you can see there, we haven't got a break out of this range yet. So I'm looking for that lower low, lower high for an opportunity to take this trade, okay? Nothing yet. Maybe that's that neutrality that the QuantBox is referring to. Looking at the pound dollar daily, price is currently at a monthly M3. We've been here before. Looking at the 4-hour time frame, we can see that we've got price just below the top of this range. Okay. I don't see lower lows and lower highs. Looking at the H1, I'm not seeing lower lows and lower highs. So I'm going to wait for this to set up some more. And I think that the way of trading this technically in terms of waiting for that lower low, lower high, and whether that's on an H1 time frame or an M15 time frame, it's totally up to you in terms of how you want to do that. You could just be looking at the M15. Obviously, you want to confirm that you're at resistance. Right now, you're at a monthly M3. So if this is bearish, then give me a lower low, lower high, and then I can take the trade like that. Until then, I would just sit back and wait, and maybe matching the fundamentals, which currently say neutral, with technicals, which would show a lower low, lower high. Failing to see a lower low, lower high, and technically, maybe that just keeps me out of trouble. If I don't get a trade, I can look back at the fundamentals and say, fundamentals were neutral. Well, I guess that's why I never got a setup. It's the same across, if I look at Kiwi dollar right now, we're at the monthly R1. And looking at the H4 time frame, you can see there, I'm not getting lower lows, lower highs, right? On H1 as well, you can see there, 21.55 currently indicating sideways. I don't have that lower low, pull back to 21 and take it down. And you can look at the 15-minute charts as well. You can see there, look how price is sitting at support on the left-hand side there. So interesting on all the pairs. Maybe things are setting up as we approach towards getting CPI data later in the week. So looking at the USD CAD, bullish. But again, do I have the higher high, higher low? And you can see how not trading without a higher high, higher low avoids you getting into trades that would have otherwise lost. Okay. So bullish on this and currently not looking very bullish, right? From a yen pair perspective, still very choppy over here. Not interested in trading that. From the CAD yen, very choppy. For euro yen, still very choppy. Pound yen, it's the same. Let's go to the daily time frame. It's the same. Okay. And then lastly, Kiwi yen. Kiwi yen representing a buy, but I'm way too high to be buying. Okay. Put yearly pivot points on your chart and you'll see exactly where price is right now. It's not a place where you want to be buying. So it's strange when you get these days where suddenly you've got just nothing coming through fundamentally. So what do? Well, you say, okay, I don't have any reason to be trading today. You take a day off. You go and spend time with your family. You go for a run, do something else. And I think being disciplined means knowing when there's opportunities and knowing when there's no opportunities, knowing when to sit back and do nothing. And looking across the board right now, that might be the best time. However, one thing we know is that when we start getting inflation data from the States, and it's my perception is it continues to print high data, just based on the meeting last week from the FOMC. I mean, they're certainly not seeing inflation coming down, although they are data dependent. But they were paying more attention to unemployment. And of course, inflation readings as well. Is inflation going to come down as a result of increasing interest rates? But it's only been a week, right? They are looking for the compound effects of lower interest rates and waiting to see if that subsides. Also looking at the unemployment and saying, are higher interest rates affecting unemployment? Are they affecting the economy? It's a big concern they have. But if we start getting higher inflation, then our fundamentals suddenly turn bullish for the dollar. Is our trade then going to come too late? So it depends on what leads you in your trading. Are you led by technicals or are you led by fundamentals? Let's pay attention to that over the coming days. Let's answer that question. So right now we can see we've got neutrality across the board in our fundamentals. This is a great time for us to pay attention to that and say, well, what changes first? Do the technicals change first or do the fundamentals change first? Now, I maintain dollar bullishness because of what the Fed's doing. And again, I remember very clearly what Powell said last week about the fact that they're not done yet. There's still plenty of rate hikes coming. And I think the market's now looking at the December rate hike and saying, what's the chance of that happening, and what data do we need to see to make sure that that is actually happening. And to be honest with you, it was matched with comments from him which said that they're not done. They still have a long road to walk. Okay. So I maintain my bias in the US dollar. The question is, can I exercise that bias? And the best way of doing that is to lower highs, which I don't have right now. So whether I'm being led technically or whether I'm being led fundamentally, right now, I don't have any reason to be selling any of the dollar pairs. So I'll continue paying attention to these today. Let's see how things shape up with regards to fundamental data, with regards to that fundamental bias, and with regards to technicals on the chart. And be super disciplined and super patient and see where we are during the course of today in terms of the New York session. And again, very easy to be able to spot lower lows, lower highs on these pairs. And if we get them, then if you're still a bull on the US dollar, you have reason to be selling the dollar pairs, except for USD CAD, which you'll be buying. But your technicals must be confirmed by an indication of bullishness or bearishness, and the USD CAD, that higher, higher, higher low, and everything else, the lower low, lower high. On the yen pairs, we've got, there's technicality, there's neutrality. Technically, there's neutrality because we've got those sideways moves, and fundamentally, it's also neutral. So as long as technicals and fundamentals both say neutral, I have no business being in any of these trades. It's frustrating when you have to sit in your hands, friends. It's frustrating when you have to sit back and wait, but that's what a mature trader does. If there are no opportunities, you sit back and you wait. And that'll keep you liquid much longer. So good luck today. Stay focused. Stay disciplined, stay patient, and stay liquid. I look forward to catching up with you guys tomorrow as we continue to pay attention to any changes we observe happening on these pairs. All the best.